Acceptance.
Hey, welcome to the tech capital of the world, Kernersville, North Carolina. I'm Bobby Davis here on Christmas Eve, coming to you live. Listen to some of the funkiest Christmas music I've ever heard, Kevin. I don't know what that was, but that was kind of funky. You know, what was that?
I don't know. I don't. It's Willasco. I heard the bells at home. That's what it's called. I don't know. I found it, and it's on our music streaming service. I was like, we're licensed to play that song, so we're playing it.
Right. It's kind of funny. All right, kind of cool. It had like the whole like I don't know, the synth organ in there going on.
Yes, it did. So. It had that warble in there too, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. I like it. That's good stuff.
All right, cool. Well, we're here for Christmas Eve. So if you got some Christmas questions, let us know. Hit us in the super chat.
That can be any question. We're just calling all questions Christmas questions.
Yeah, anything you want. But we do want to talk about some other things because we've seen a little bit of scuttlebutt around boot camps and stuff like that. So full disclosure,
that, right? But
yeah, we run a boot camp, but we do think there's some on Twitter particularly. There's some bad takes out there that aren't based in reality, and a lot of times these takes come from people that A, aren't running a boot camp, or B, not even coding, which is the ones that I find the most.
Right.
You know, some guy that's working, you know, at the psychology department in a school suddenly decides that boot camps suck and they don't work, and he doesn't even know what it takes to be a coder.
Exactly, for whatever strange reason. Yeah. So yeah, we'll talk about that. We will like you said, we will do questions as well. We'll get to those.
Yeah,
we'll talk about this. Go
ahead and queue them up if you've got some.
If you got them, throw them in there. Let's just do a couple things here first. Dana said it was very Matrixy. Maybe that's the thing. I haven't seen the Matrix movie yet, so no spoilers, please. Bobby has seen it. Your review out of 5, what would you give it?
4.4.
Okay. I've seen reviews from people with non-spoiler reviews, right? And they've been all the way from "it's the worst movie I've ever seen" to "it was amazing." So yeah, I don't know what to think. Like, here's my non-spoiler thing to prep you for the movie, Kevin. Go for it.
You need to go read the Bootstrap docs on modals.
Okay. See, I saw your tweet about this, and I'm like, I don't get this tweet. I think I have to see it first, then maybe I'll understand it.
So I was with my son. We were sitting there watching the movie, and then he leaned over. He never talked. If you don't know, my son's a film major. So like, when you go to the experience with him, you have to sit quiet. He's like looking at stuff. But he leans over for the first time in like, I don't know, forever, and whispers something. What the heck is a modal?
Oh wow! Okay, that's amazing. Okay, that's
so like
okay. So there's a little bit of a web developer like talking now. I like it.
And that's where the problem starts. But
God. Okay, we're not all gonna come back like after this all and be like, what? This is like,
that's not a modal.
It's not real. Oh, jeez. Okay, it's gonna ruin it.
It's kind of funny though.
It's gonna ruin it. It's gonna ruin it for all web devs though, because they're not gonna be able to get over that point. They're gonna be like, that's just wrong.
That's wrong.
That's funny.
So I'm sure there's someone else out there that'll. I'm surprised no one responded to my tweet, and most people haven't seen it yet. So like, it's going to go down in the history of bad computer science takes. It's going to go down in history.
Okay, I think so. Yeah.
It's okay. It serves a purpose. It serves a plot device. It's okay. But they just used the wrong plot device, you know. So anyway.
Okay, I'll have to remember that when it comes up. Well, I'm going to watch. You went to the movies to watch it. I'm going to watch it on HBO. It's on HBO. So
watch it tonight. Read what a modal is on Bootstrap, and then you're going to laugh when you see it.
Yeah. Well, I am familiar. I know what that is. So I love that they're going to get it wrong.
It's not a modal.
We'll see. Okay.
So like, anyway.
Let's jump on and talk about this. Let's talk about this real quick. So Lambda's getting heat. Lambda's always getting heat, but that's just one of those
No, it's
things.
getting heat. They're the biggest one in the
You're the biggest one in the
country.
game. Yeah, you're gonna get heat. That's just how it is. So let's talk about we came across an article, and I actually retweeted this on our Twitter account too the other day because I was like, oh, this is interesting. I'm just gonna put it out there and like just retweet. I'm not gonna put a comment on it, but our official Code of Foundry account retweeted it out. So let me pull this up real quick. And this was the article, and you'd seen it first. You actually sent it to me.
Yeah.
But it's entitled "The Ugly Truth About Coding Bootcamp." So I was like, wow, okay, cool. We always like these takes on these things.
Yeah, we do.
But then it was subtitled, "It's time to confront the truth about coding bootcamps. They actually work, and we can prove it with stories and facts." Like, oh, okay, an interesting spin. We don't see this very often.
No, usually they say they're terrible, and we're shysters. I'm selling gold watches on the street out of my jacket.
So. The hot take is usually that it sucks. Like that's the clickbaity thing that people go through, and it's like there's horror stories and things. And we started, so we talked about this, and we thought, well, let's just talk about this on stream because this kind of spurred a discussion we were having, that we were talking about. So
and there's some other YouTubers out there that's all they do. They YouTube negatively about coding boot camps all the time, and so it's just it gets kind of frustrating when people don't understand. Like when you actually run one and you work with, I don't know how many students now. It's probably
hundreds and hundreds. I don't know.
Hundreds and hundreds, maybe close to 1,000 since 2014.
Oh, I'm sure
we're not the largest. We're not the largest boot camp in the country. In fact, we don't try to be. That's just kind of like, I've got other things I'm trying to do, and so we keep it like where we can do the best quality we can. So this really isn't about Coder Foundry. This is about when there is an innovation that happens in the education space, a lot of people reactively, and still are, saying that will never work. And so this is really less about boot camps and more about like the way colleges are being left behind in some of these tech spaces. Colleges, in my opinion, have leaned way too heavily to liberal arts and lost most of the vocation part of like what we're trying to teach and be a job ready and that kind of stuff. Doesn't mean that you can't learn about appreciation art history and like take a Fizz Buzz course and do some other things. I think that's fine. I went to college and I have a degree, but it's flipped to where it's just like, there are certain skills you got to know, and then college doesn't really teach those things. They don't do a good
job of that, do they?
No. Now, not all of them are created equal, and some are better than others. And a lot of colleges now are entering the bootcamp game, which I find very interesting.
Yeah, well, they're entering the bootcamp game. Don't forget, hold on, they're entering the bootcamp game through a bootcamp. Like literally, there's two companies out there, Trilogy and another one I forget. But generally, you'll find if they're running a boot camp program at a college, it is an actual boot camp. It's a boot camp behind it. It's just the college is just
they're buying curriculum, and then you basically watch the videos, and then you do the work, and then you graduate. You don't really have interaction with instructors or like that. They're definitely not. A lot of times, especially in the case of Trilogy, they're not necessarily full time working for, name your college that's running the Trilogy program. They're just kind of part-time people. So I think that is a disservice to them. But here's what I'm going to say. It still works. So it's like when we compare, like internally, we look at boot camps and we're comparing our methodology to everyone else's, and we think we're better than everyone else, which anyone that runs a boot camp should think they're good at what they do. But at the same time, what if your boot camp sucks? I think that's the question that a lot of people are really confused about.
Well, we know they're not all equal, right? We've heard. No,
there's some bad ones out there.
Yeah,
they give us a bad name. They give other people bad names, and we don't really teach that way. And we also were very kind of conscious of like how we do it. So we're constantly improving, constantly evolving. Our curriculum probably changes every 12 weeks. Like not at a great degree, but I'll go back and look back at it and go, I didn't like the way we did that last cohort. I'm going to change. I'm going to just modify this a little bit, how we're going to do it. Yeah. I think that the thing that we've been doing lately in the last 6 months, we did it this morning, is we're allowing employers now are allowing us to sit through interview sessions. And so if you're an employer out there and you're interviewing a Code Foundry grad, let us sit through it. We don't really help the student interview. We're not trying to rig the interview. We're trying to understand, like, what do employers really, really ask? Where do our students fail? Where do they win? Those kind of things, so we can better coach them going forward in the future and how to win a technical interview. And I can say this confidently, Kevin, as I sat through the interviews, everything that we say here on the channel about interviewing, about how to win, is accurate. It's right. I mean, like, just most people don't do what we say. They think there's a different way and that I'm crazy. And like, what do you mean you should just demo your stuff without asking? Like, please do it. Because when I watch people do it, they're like, wow, I didn't know that project was that cool.
Yeah.
That's neat. Let me ask you a question about that. Like, and so we do know that if you follow our advice on this, it absolutely 100% works. And then we also know, I think, and I have a lot of experience in this, why people fail. We
have enough stats at this point to understand like where people kind of fit in, what makes somebody successful, what makes somebody fail. And I think let's talk about one thing, like overarching over this whole thing. It comes down to expectation versus reality, and a lot of these things we talk about here are expectation versus reality based and effort based.
Right. Yeah. So like, I see this tweet quite a bit on LinkedIn, and I don't think you should ever tweet these things on LinkedIn if you're looking for a job. So just trust me when I say this does not do you any favors. My boot camps suck and I can't get a job because they suck tweet, or they suck in LinkedIn or whatever. So all it does is put you as a candidate in a bad light, that you couldn't understand the curriculum or you couldn't figure out another way around it.
And it sucks that it is that way, because you want to give your like honest review about something, but you do have to think about it from your own personal perspective.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to start wars with anyone at Foundry that had a bad experience. We've had a few that had bad. We don't overwhelmingly, it's been positive, but every now and then we'll run across a student that has a bad view, and they all have the same kind of issue. And then when I meet people online and Twitter that didn't go to our boot camp, I actually reach out to people that didn't go to our boot camp and say, hey, what happened? I want to know kind of what happened, or like, what are you doing? It's the same story. And so like, and if you're out there and you went to Foundry, don't get mad at me, okay? Because I believe you can call and talk to me about it. I believe I can help you in your job search, number one, if you just listen to this. This is constructive criticism. We're not trying to pass the buck to say that all students suck. That's not the case. But the reason that people fail is I think they think that they can purchase a job.
Yes.
I think fundamentally that is where the disconnect is between, and they look at boot camps as a way to purchase the job, and they look at college as a way to get education. Right. They never treat colleges the way they do at boot camps. Yeah.
Someone says, yo, what's good? What is your guys' opinion on the Udemy courses?
I think this all falls in the same thing. I mean, it does. I mean, can you take a Udemy course and get a job? 100%. All right. I think it's what you do after your education process that is the difference between getting a job and not getting a job. And this is where at Foundry, if you've ever went through our boot camp live virtually, you'll hear me say this. This is the difference. You doing this right now is the difference between getting a job and not getting one. Don't come back and send me a bad review when you don't do these certain things, and then you say, hey, I didn't get my result. But I do see a class of people, and it's just a subset. It's not the vast majority. I'd say we're somewhere in the 80% range of success.
Yeah.
You know, somewhere in that
80
range.
Something. If you consider completing the course and then getting a job, we're 80-something%. I don't know what the stats were for the last year or last couple years, but we're in that ballpark, which is the average across all boot camps. It was 79% across all boot camps, according to Course Report Study for 2020.
Right. And so I saw Lambda push their results out, and they're like at 65 to 70, and people were banging on them like there's some kind of awful, you know. And then when you look at colleges, just like, well, colleges is lower than that. I mean, like it's way lower than that. I mean, so like, but, and I'm not saying Lambda's a great program. I've never went through their product. I have no idea what the product's like. I have no idea whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. I think if you think that you can buy a job, then you shouldn't come to Foundry. You shouldn't go to any boot camp whatsoever. And you because you can't buy one. You have to win the job. You have to win the role. And what I've always said is, coding jobs are skill-based. So they're really based on what you know and what you can do. And that's what's so good about it. It's not based on where you came from, where you were born, all these other kind of things that can happen. So like say if you get a law degree and you want to work in like a prestigious law firm, it matters if you go to Harvard. If you went to the JUCO college down the street, you're probably not getting the first gig at the prestigious law firm. Harvard, Columbia, all those things matter, you know. Matt Murdock was graduated from Columbia, you know, he's Daredevil, so it matters, you know. So like, so in that degree, some of it matters. Coding's different. Coding is, what do you know? Can you build this thing for me? And that's really the question that an interview, and every interview technique they're trying to understand is, can you do this? Because I need someone who can perform the skill that I have. I look at this a lot. I have a lot of sports analogies about like this. Is like in the NFL, it's like, can you run fast and catch the ball? You know, so they have a combine and they go throw you the ball and see if you can run fast. Can you catch? How high can you jump? You know, are you in shape? I mean, like, you know, can you lift more weights than the average person? Are you strong? You know, like, it's skill based, and coding's a lot like that. It's just that now it's open to everyone. A lot of people, probably before boot camps came around, and I'm proud to say we were one of the very first boot camps on the market. 2014, Hack Reactor was before us. There was a few before us, but we were on the one that came around very, very early in the process. We were the first .NET boot camp, definitely in the nation, and we're still one of the few that do what we do. But it's all about skill, man. I mean, like, it's like every single time I watched the interview this morning, like every time it's about, can you do this? Can you make this thing for me? And the answer's you've got to prove that you can. And the best way to do that is show them something working. And so that's why we still continue this day, say, hey, we're going to build portfolios, we're going to build demos, and we're going to learn how to talk about those demos during an interview. And if you do those things, you'll get a job.
Yep.
Now, some of the bad information that you get also what I'm learning more is, as I talk to people from around the world, I'm not a well-traveled person, you know, Kevin, I stay where I'm at, but we've noticed that, okay, over in Southeast Asia, the interview practices are different than they are in the US. Definitely. I mean, it seems that way anyway, that it's more geared around like hacker rank is something super important. In the US, it's like next to zero. Like no one cares about that. You know, so there's these algorithmic type training that people go through. And then, so what happens is people see that and they go 100% that way. And then they don't really know how to build the website. Like, it's like, you have to build the website at the end of the day. Right. It doesn't matter if you can tell me how to do a binary tree or anything about an array or anything like that, if you can't build a website. So like, that's where the other thing happens. And I think that's the two common misinformations. But the main thing is that I see that they think that boot camps don't work, and they definitively do. Yeah, they 100% work.
I think so. So here's my take on this, and it comes down to what I said before: expectation versus reality. It's somebody, and this is where a lot of the bad reviews come from. It's like somebody I think you I mean, you said it. They expect to be kind of to be able to purchase the job, right?
Yeah.
It's a boot camp doesn't make your process any less difficult. While it speeds up the process, let's say versus self-paced or versus like self-learning or versus college, it might speed up the process, but it still requires the same amount of work. You've still got to put the work in. It just takes work, regardless. So that's my take on that. So what does Tom say? I just sticked to my Udemy course. This was all I needed to do. I landed a job 3 weeks ago, and now I can build a website without even looking anything up.
Great.
Okay. Awesome.
That's awesome, you know, and so
build more complex things. You'll start looking stuff up. Trust me.
Yeah, I'll look up stuff still today. You know, so I was looking up stuff this morning. So you know, I mean, I'm glad that you can do that. You know, but a lot of us don't have, you know, there's so much stuff to know that you can't memorize. All. You just gotta know what you got to do.
Here's a term we were talking about this morning. A boot camp isn't pay to win.
Yeah,
you've still got to put the effort in, right? It's like anybody that plays video games. You'll know there's some games you can buy like the shortcut packages, right? Yeah, you can You can buy like the shortcut packages to the top, and you have a top level character, and it's like, yeah, look, I did that, it's awesome. And there's a guy grinding down here doing the work. Well, in learning to code, you can't do that. You can't buy the package that's going to get you the job. It just doesn't work. You've got to put in the work. Whether you do self-study, whether you do a boot camp, whether you do college, all of them take work.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
Also, too, I know too that we see this in society too. Is like we've had people that apply to our boot camp. And a lot of people, and we've had several, that get mad at us when we don't let them in. Oh, yeah. And so we're different than most boot camps. I think that boot camps just allow whoever applies, and we'll teach you no matter what. And that's why I think that's a bad practice.
Well, here's the harsh truth. Not everybody can do it.
Not everyone can do it. Not everyone can do it.
It sucks that that's the truth, but that is the truth.
Yeah. I think more than you think can do it, but there is a certain segment that we've met them. It's just hard. It's just really hard for them, and therefore it probably isn't the best career choice for you. You can do other things, but we've had pushback on. I don't know if our process is you do 2 kind of mini projects before you can get in the boot camp. They're paint by number projects. You follow the videos. You do exactly what the video does. You regurgitate that information back to us, and we're just testing a couple things. Number 1, can you follow instructions? Number 2, attention to detail. Does your thing look like the thing on the screen, and does it match up?
You would be shocked how many people send in the work
broken
that does
stuff
not match the thing, and I'm like, did you even check it? If you can't get there, that's one thing. But if you can't get there and then you just send it anyway, with just says, "There you go, here's my best efforts."
And so if you're watching us today and you've failed that coming into Coder Foundry, we're not making fun of you at all.
Not at all.
It just means that you can do this over a longer period of time than a short period of time. What I want to get to is that we've even had pushback where someone says, "Hey, dude, I'm just buying this thing. I don't need to test. I'm not testing anything to get in this." I'm like, what? And I realized the mentality was, it's like going to Lowe's Hardware and buying a fridge. I'm gonna just go get me a coding job for Christmas. I'm just gonna go buy it. How much is it? And then when they approach it with that mentality, those types of mentality, they always fail because they don't feel like they have to do anything at all. And it's all on the school to do everything. Now, does the school have a responsibility? 100%. Yeah, we have a responsibility to teach and actually teach the curriculum and that kind of stuff. Yep. But you also have to ingest it and learn it. So the other thing too that we see is, especially in our school, one of the primary things of why people don't win, why they don't fail, why they don't get a job is attendance. And so now we're down to,
that's
you miss 5 days, you're out. And so they don't even attend class or do the things necessary to do it. And I saw a tweet the other day when someone said, "Hey, if your boot camp's boring, that's a big red flag. You should just go somewhere else." I'm like, well, maybe you don't like that code. I mean, we're not Netflix. I'm not up here dancing, and singing along, as I code, Yeah. So a lot of times, we try not to be boring, but some of it, if you don't like coding, it's
if somebody says writing SQL statements is the highlight of their day, then they're probably, the highlights. Then maybe that's for them, but I don't know.
Right.
But if it's not and they find it totally boring, then I get it. It's not again, not for everyone.
Yeah. So that I see that. And then the second thing is I'm going to put this in there. It's called commitment to craft. So I see people, and we have a few at Coder Foundry, and I'm not making fun of you, but the people that complain about the boot camp, and it's been going on for 5 years. It's so let's say that your boot camp experience was bad and they had a bad cohort, the teacher quit in the middle of it or whatever it was, something happened and life happens or whatever.
So here's another way to look at this too. So throwing these in the mix, do Ruby camps suck? So this is kind of the same question you're talking about right here.
Yeah. So all right, number 1, I think what you matters. Can you get a job with Ruby on Rails? The answer is yes. Coder Foundry thinks that there's more opportunity for .NET coders, hence the reason we teach that. But let's say you went to a Ruby camp and you can't find a Ruby job. You can complain for 5 years about how the Ruby camp sucked, or you can switch stacks and learn something new and still can be committed to your craft. So ultimately, you can complain about the boot camp all you want, and if you don't break in, that hurts you, not the boot camp per se. You can leave lots of bad reviews. You can Google review bomb them. You can do lots of things to try to hurt them to get your pound of flesh out. But if the question is, do I want a job doing this? Well, then you need to adjust your thinking and say, okay, I'm going to use the boot camp as a vehicle to get information so I can build some things. And then I'm going to show those things to employers. If that information doesn't come across the way that I want it, or it doesn't match your learning style, or they're terrible, or it doesn't really matter, I can't stop complaining about it. I have to go learn something else and keep learning, so that I can eventually break in. It's a lifelong learning endeavor. People don't understand that. Like, if you just learn HTML and CSS and JavaScript, I can get a job, and that's all I need to know, and I can get a job, which is fundamentally true, except it's going to change over time, and you need to be committed to learning all the time. And so a lot of people don't want to put in that kind of effort, I don't think.
Right.
It's a lot of effort.
I'll also say we also see a couple of different levels of failure too. It's just reminded me that we see kind of two levels. We see somebody who doesn't complete the class, right, for whatever reason. They come into class, they fail, whatever reason, they don't build the projects, whatever it is. They literally
life
fail.
Gets in the way.
Life gets in the way. We see a lot of stuff. We've literally had somebody come like halfway through the course and have like a car wreck and have to quit. Versus somebody who literally just quits coming, it's just lazy. There's all kinds of reasons like why people don't finish the class, right? And that's kind of like the failing the bootcamp kind of things. But those people then also go in two paths. So you can fail the bootcamp. Those people then go to two paths. They can be unsuccessful and successful. People that are unsuccessful go back to doing whatever they were doing before. They never look at coding again. Maybe it just wasn't for them, whatever reason, whatever that is, or they just rail against it, just don't like it. There's other people who fail who go on to be very successful. We literally have people who have gone to work at Microsoft who failed our bootcamp.
They failed it.
They
failed it hard. Yeah, and then when they got a job at Microsoft, I was like and one guy in particular, I was shocked, but also wasn't surprised.
Yes, because he used other skills.
He used other skills to get there. And so here's the primary skill that certain people have intuitively walking around. And now I'm identifying that when I interview people to come into the boot camps. If you have this skill, then if you can just learn to code, you can probably get a job.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have this skill, your coding skills have to be a little bit higher. And so it can be other ways. But some people, when you ask them to explain something, they explain by example. They do that in their everyday life. Let me show you how this works. Let me show you how you're going to do it. You ever met the mechanic that says, "Can you change the oil in my car?" And the first thing we want to do is like roll you under the car and say,
"Yeah, he wants to show it to you."
Up here. Let me show you how this works. Have me a 3/8 socket wrench, or whatever it is, like that. And they're cranking on the thing and they're trying to teach you how to do it. They answer questions by example by default.
What's that? HTML and CSS pretty quick. JavaScript takes way longer than normal. Okay. 1 month ago. No, very normal. No, very normal.
That's normal. Don't worry about that, dude. Like, don't quit now. I mean, like it may take you a year to learn JavaScript.
No, it's a total step up.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you can't get a job now, and then you can continue your skills in JavaScript as you go. So you're going to learn lots of things going forward. Yep. You can't learn everything in a month. I mean, that's the other thing, is be patient.
You're on the right path though. HTML, CSS, then JavaScript, and JavaScript will take longer than both HTML and CSS. Perfectly.
It's just broader, and there's more stuff to know. Yep. But what I was going back to is that these people explain by example, and so that's why we adopt in our bootcamp models, like, hey, you know what? Demo. Answer the question with a demo. Answer the question with code. Answer the question. Don't try to memorize answers. And so many people try to memorize things, like where I've seen students like, hey, I got my C# flashcards out. I'm like, dude, quit doing that. Like, it only gets you to a certain level. And I saw something on LinkedIn, and I apologize if you're watching this, and this is you. I'm not trying to make fun of anyone, but it goes to the larger problem, which the guy says, hey, I get scared, I get blanked out, I do this, and I have all of these physical problems. And they literally asked me the question, what is Node.js? And I didn't know the answer to it. And I think the main problem that those people, number one, I would never make a LinkedIn comment that way. And so I would just put it, I wouldn't even talk about it at all. I would just talk about what is Node.js, and I'd write an article on LinkedIn and do that. So I think what happens is that a lot of people try to memorize the questions for the test, because in the US, that's how high school is. That's how college is. Yeah. You just memorize the questions for the test, and then you come into a coder class, and then suddenly you have to perform to get the job. And people rail against that. Well, just ask me these 3 questions, only these 3 questions. I can answer those. I should be able to get the job. It's a lot in the creative field too. That's why designers have to be able to design, and editors have to be able to edit, and shooters have to be able to shoot. Coders have to code, and that's just the way it is. So I mean, no one would, if someone handed you some footage, Kevin, they said, here, I've got some footage here. You got 30 minutes. I need you to cut some stuff together and see if, if you can build a narrative out of this. I don't really care what it is. I just want to see what your choices were.
That'd be interesting.
You'd say, okay, I can do that. I'll do that. I'll do that. Let's do that.
I'm already thinking, what footage are we talking about? Because I want
to. Yeah. So so they give you some stuff, and it's, and see if you can edit stuff together, see if you can do it. Whereas most people complain about that part of coding testing to get into the job because it's hard, it's difficult. And so you don't know what the question is, you don't know what the footage is, you don't know, but you have to be able to abstractly apply your knowledge to something and just say, I know how to build this. So I think that's part of it. And I think that's why people fail, is that they try to memorize the answers versus learning how to talk about it by example, which is, if you have a great portfolio, you can talk about it by example. And that removes a lot of the pressure off of what we call code trivia. We rail against code trivia, but we know it's a necessary thing because that's the way they interview. Therefore, you have to prep for that. So how do you do that? You turn an interview question, a code trivia question, what is MVC or what is Node.js, into, hey, I built something in Node.js. Let me show you kind of the project I built with Node.js. Therefore, you don't have to really answer it in an academic sense, what is Node.js, or what is MVC? It's not an academic question. Man, Tyron, last one, you sure? You could do 10 more. We'll let you.
Is it a good idea to use Node.js since I'm learning JavaScript, or should I use Java Django for the backend?
You can do whatever you want.
I think neither one of those are going to be a bad choice, are they?
Nah, I think you can do whatever you want. Pick one and go with it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I would say, based on what we see, I would say Java, Django for the backend.
Yeah, I think it's another language.
It's another skill set to have.
Yeah. I think it's better, but at this point, Node is very popular. I'm building full stack JavaScript. If you ever have to build REST services, then Java C# is something that's very high level. If you're choosing between the back ends, we're going to say, hey, ASP.NET C#, that's the one you should learn. I mean, over those two, well, definitely over to Django, just because there's more jobs out there. Is it harder to learn? I don't know. I mean, we do what's necessary, not what's necessarily easy. So that's how we look at it. So, but I want to give people hope. Yes, we're going to buy tacos for everyone.
Tacos all around. Thanks, Tyron. We appreciate it. No, thank you for all the super chat, Tyron. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tyron.
Sorry. Go ahead,
so, one of the things that should give you hope is if you can talk about projects, you can get a job in this industry. That's the truth of the matter. And so, whether the bootcamp is good, bad, or indifferent means that ultimately, by the end of the day, here's how you break in. You build a portfolio of projects, you learn how to talk about them, you'll get a job.
Yep.
So if you go to, say, a Trilogy bootcamp.
This is why Dane is going to be successful, because that.
Yeah, exactly. If you go to a bootcamp, and so this is one of the common complaints about Lambda is I go there, it's 90% video content. I have teacher support hours on Thursday afternoons or whatever it is. It's not full-time instruction. It's not a lot of live instruction. Therefore, I don't get anything out of it. And it's okay, you've got to if you've signed up for an ISA or whatever they're calling it these days at Lambda, then you've got to maximize the opportunity, which means that take in all the content that they have, build a project with that said content. And then also, guess what, Kevin? Your boot camp may not teach you every single thing you need to know. That's one of the things that happens to us. I would say they definitely
won't teach you everything.
Yeah, they say, you didn't teach me about bam, 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 bam. I'm we got 12 weeks. I mean, you have to pick some stuff. And you may have to learn other stuff as you go along in your career. I mean, so.
It doesn't matter how you learn. You definitely will.
Doesn't matter how you do it.
College isn't going to teach you everything you need to learn. In 4 years.
No, definitely not. In 4 years.
You're never going to learn everything you need to learn on your own if you self-study. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. So what I say is you need to know enough to get a job, and then they'll pay you to learn the next thing. And then once you're doing that, you have a career. And so it's not about like learning every single thing whatsoever. Some of the comments we got on our self-paced course was, I didn't teach, I forget the 3 topics, it doesn't matter, three things. And so if I hadn't done this guy literally said, if I didn't learn this on my own, then I would have looked like a fool during the interview process, but he also got a job. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so we got you far enough and then you had to add to it. That's okay. I mean, it's totally okay that if you supplement the in-person, a self-paced course, a Udemy course. I mean, if you take Colt Steele's web programming bootcamp from Udemy and you get it for $12 on sale or whatever it is, it doesn't teach you everything you need to know. I mean, like it teaches you some good stuff and it's a good one. And like there's some stuff, but you're gonna need to know some other stuff. He probably doesn't delve everything into CSS or every single thing in HTML or everything about, back-end development. It's just like, this is how you build this particular project. Yeah. And learn all of these kind of techniques along the way. You may have to take 30 Udemy courses or 50. You may have to go to Coder Foundry Bootcamp and then also take a Udemy course as well to add on to whatever you think the limitation is for what you're learning. I think that what you need to think about this is, I'm learning how to code. I need to learn enough to get a job, and then everything else I'm going to self-teach myself as I go. Because after that, I got to be committed to my craft.
Again, you know what this comes back to? This comes back to my same thing that I said at the beginning, expectation versus reality. If you expect to go to a boot camp and expect to learn everything and expect to get handed a job, you're going to be disappointed. Yeah. Therefore, it's like going into the Matrix, right? And you thought the Matrix movie was going to be the best movie ever. It is going to be the 10-star, top of the thing, the best movie ever. And then it's not. So it's not. So now guess what? Now it sucks. Because it's not the best movie ever. It's not a 4.4 anymore from you. Now it's a 1. Yeah. Because it's like, I was expecting it to be the greatest thing ever, but it wasn't. So having a high expectation makes your actual outcome, even if it's middle of the road or still very high, seem very low. Yeah. That's how we work. Yeah. The other common mistake we see is you can't talk about your project. The other one we talk about is people expectations. They go through the boot camp, they pass the boot camp, and then they get an offer, and it's like they turn it down. Oh yeah. And they're like, for whatever reason. It's like, and so like if you read the book Breaking the Code, always in one of the chapters is take the first job, and people think literally a chapter. I'll probably between like I would never turn a job offer down. I would never do that, but like it happens all the time. I've had people that says, here's the salary expectation for this role. They won't even interview. They're like, that's an insult. I'm not going to do that, and so like. And by the way, we're not talking about minimum wage here, by the way, either. We're talking about 40 something to 50 grand. It's not in the North world's Carolina. Best job, but it's, you know what I mean? But it's certainly not like, it's not slave wages, you know what I mean? It's not. Yeah, so if you're working a minimum wage, you're working hello at Walmart or whatever, customer service or whatever in Walmart, and it's not bad. You can build a career there. But you're trying to change your career path and you build a career. You take the first job to get experience, regardless of how bad it is or how the low pay is. I'm worth way more than that. And then once you have 1 year of experience, I promise you the world changes and your salaries will continue to rise as you manage your career, as long as you can still prove that I can learn this stuff and I know this stuff. And I think that's what people are missing. A lot of people I'm trying to dude, just interview, at least for the practice. They won't even do it. They won't even do it. They're like, it's like, I'm not doing it. I'm like, why? And they have all these other reasons which don't matter. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to get you to break in. And then the quicker you do that, exit the boot camp, the quicker you do that, the better off you are. And then they'll pay you to learn the next thing. And then you can move, you can quit this job. You don't have to stay there for 5 years. It's just kind of, one of the employers' questions was, hey, we're looking for someone to stay here for 5 years. Will you stay here for 5 years? And this guy didn't know how to answer that question because he wanted to be like, it's only yes. There's only one answer to that question. Yeah. That should give me a reason not to, but that's not what you say. I'll stay. Yeah. I mean, that's the plan right now, but like, that is a crazy question. So this guy him and hawed around like, it depends. And and he get it because he didn't believe you were committed to him. And so this is what I'm talking about. You have to learn how to interview and you have to learn how to talk about it. But you take the first role that you can get just for the experience. You don't do it for money. You don't do it for the position. You don't do it for any other reason other than that I'm trying to get experience. And I want to make, because the money comes 3 to 4 years down the road. When you talk about these crazy salaries that people are making,
they've been doing it for a minute. Very few people graduate making 200 grand coming out of a boot camp and only been coding for 3 months. It's not going to happen.
Right. It's a unicorn story.
There's probably right now, there's people like put in comments in there that happened to me. That's what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, it's a unicorn, but you know, it just doesn't happen. So you have to adjust your expectations of how much time and effort it's going to take. And also too, man, it's going to take you 90 days after post boot camp to get a job, more than likely. You know, and you have to apply and you have to work and you have to work at that just as hard as the learning to code bit. And it's just, no one's going to knock on your door. And so even at boot camp, people say Coder Foundry didn't help anyone. And what they don't understand is, yeah, we did. We called you at night, we called you in the day, and you didn't answer. And we tried to get you to talk about your job search. And, you know, you said, I can only work in this small part of America and I won't move. And it makes it very difficult. And so like we work with everyone that we can, we still do. But the reason it doesn't work is your job search isn't wide enough. You're not willing to accept a role, any type of role, just to get experience, and you don't learn to talk about your code. If you can do those three things, you'll break into this industry.
Exactly. I think the caveat 100%. To that too, though, before I talk about N17's coming here, the caveat to that is unpaid internships. Definitely not a fan of unpaid internships. Don't work for free.
We turned down someone the other day that wants someone to work for free for 6 months. I'm like, well, no, that's not happening. You know, that's not happening.
Yeah, we're not talking about like, you know, doing the work for exposure thing. That's not a job. That's not a job. We're not talking about that.
This is W-2, you know, above minimum wage. You know, like
exactly. So N17 says, took my first job even though it was paying half as much as the second offer. So that's cool. Look like you doubled your salary. That's awesome. Because I knew I would. Oh no! So you had another offer because I knew I would learn so much from my boss, who was a great mentor. Okay, that's perfect. That's a valid reason too. Yeah,
a valid reason. The question is, he took an offer. You know, he took the first job.
Right.
So it's just experience is the real reason, the real thing that you're chasing when you're entering into the job market. Second, you're going to have to like apply a lot. You're going to have to call these companies directly. You're going to have to message them directly. You're going to have to work with recruiters. You're going to have to do all of these things. And then you're going to have to learn to win a technical interview. When you do that, you'll get a job. And we see it every single time.
Aaron answered the question correctly. Because they asked him where he sees himself in 5 years, and he said, at the company.
Yeah, that's where I see myself right now today.
There you go. That's it. That is the correct answer to that question.
I mean, it's not necessarily a lie.
It's not a lie. No,
they could go out of business in 5 years, and are you still going to pay me? I mean, like, you know, like, so they could fire you. Are you still paying me I said I'd be here for 5 years, you know, like, you know, well, we're letting you go.
Yeah.
But like, so it's a two-way street, especially in the US. It's a two-way street. There's very few contractual agreements between employers and employees in the US. There are some circumstances where, you know, where you have to fulfill those, and they do too. But in general, it's usually right to work state or work at will agreements. And you just basically work there until they don't want you anymore, until you want to leave. And when an employer asks, are you going to be here in 5 years? It's just a crazy question. You say yes.
You just say yes.
That's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah, that's the plan.
I want to do that. Yep. That's the plan.
Okay, let's do some question.
Yeah.
Ridge Ready said, after someone finishes a boot camp and is waiting on interviews, is there anything you recommend learning while you wait?
Yeah, keep doing what you did. So, right? Yeah, so I think Ridge Raider, if you're in, I think he's in our self-paced bootcamp. I think he is. Just continue to build those C# projects. Continue to work on those. The other thing that you could do while learning, and it's something that's going to come out in the self-paced course very soon, is taking some standard interview questions and relating those to code. And we're going to give you 30 or 40 examples like that very soon here in the self-paced course, where we say, here's the standard interview question, what is MVC? Here's the academic answer. Here's where it exists in the project you built here on the self-paced course. Learn that third piece, where that goes, and then we show you the code snippet and learn how to talk about that and how to demo it. Yeah.
What's Eli said? You have experience with students that instead of landing a job, they started a small tech business and became successful.
I'd have to, no one comes to mind right off the bat. But that doesn't mean you can't do it.
Yeah, we definitely had people do freelance work, for sure, out of it, because that's what they want to do.
I don't think that is a way to judge the bootcamp. I think the percentage of people that actually try that is probably in the less than 10%.
Oh, it's way less. It's less than
range.
that. It's
Yeah.
less than that. I would say
Most people that come to us just say, I want a paycheck, I want a job. And maybe after they get experience, they go on and they build something of their own. Personally, I don't believe starting your own business in coding, software development, be it consulting or freelancing, is the easiest thing when you're just coming straight out of a boot camp. It's way more difficult to do that than to get a job. I think once you get experience and you see kind of how things kind of work and you understand like deadlines and you learn from other more experienced people, then you go out and try to start that on your own. But if you just had the entrepreneurial bug and you have an idea, yeah, I'm sure you can build it if you want. So very few people do that, just because very few people do it in general. Most people work somewhere, and that's not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing.
Okay.
Right, cool.
I'm gonna kind of pick and choose some here. So Getting It says, do grades matter when it comes to working as a web developer?
No. What matters? Can you do the job? That's totally.
It might matter when you've let's say that you just graduated and you just have your degree, and you want to tell them your GPA, like maybe, but 5 minutes after then, no, never again in your life will you talk about your GPA ever.
No, and I would say if your GPA isn't 4.0, don't even talk about it.
Yeah.
If you
got talking about this the other day, weren't we? Like if you go to when you go to class and like you've got a 4.0, and the person next to you is in the same class as you, and they graduate the same degree of you, they get the same piece of paper as you, they got straight C's. After that initial thing, it never matters. You both are on the same level playing field in terms of your education.
What matters is acquisition of knowledge is what matters. Can you build a website? Can you be a web developer? Can you do the things that they want you to do? Regardless if you got a C in operating systems and data structures, that doesn't matter. Can you build this website? And that's what they're really judging you on. And that's why you build a portfolio, and that's why you build projects and show them that you can do it. And you just interview so much better. So, cool. Good question.
There you go. Just throw this one at you just real quick. You can give a real quick answer. Is learning C# .NET worth?
Yes.
Worth it?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I do think that in 2022, next year, which is in 2 weeks, there's a lot of things going on in and around the .NET ecosystem that's going to continue to push its dominance out into place. And I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on a lot of things, where ways that we used to do stuff could potentially change. And I think, but .NET on the back end definitely is something you need to learn how to do, I think. But you can learn whatever you want. If you don't believe me, learn something else, but stick to that something and get a job in that space. So like if you're out there and you're a Node guy and you're like, hey man, I'm making a living doing Node, keep doing it. You don't have to learn C#. But if you're asking me and you don't know anything and say, what should I learn? Well, come to our boot camp and learn ASP.NET and C#. Learn.coderfoundry.com. That's what we think. We're selling courses, but like we also back it up with like what we believe is super relevant in the industry. That's just what we think.
There you go. So TechRide's hanging out with us today, by the way. I didn't show his tweet earlier, but his message earlier. But this is, I think this is something
you do have people that have done that to me. Yes. Yeah. So like, really? I'm like,
kind of, and again, but this comes back to my same thing: expectation versus reality. They expected just this thing, and it's not. Turns out to be this thing. Therefore, it sucks. That's what it comes down to.
There's some famous. No, I wouldn't say famous. There's some you people have YouTube channels out there that we know about that rail on their boot camp and every other boot camp in the world, and they say they didn't learn nothing, they didn't teach me anything, I didn't do nothing whatsoever. And you go look at it and like, but
you graduated and you're working as a dev.
You graduated and like,
was it really that bad?
I mean, like you knew stuff. I mean, like, did you have to learn stuff after it? Yeah, we all do. I mean, like, heck yeah, man. I mean, like, no one knowledge source is going to give you everything you need to know. I mean, like, it's just you need to adjust your thinking, unlike in that, and say, I'm going to learn this thing here. And I would say even inside of Coder Foundry, .NET in general, we're going to teach you MVC and web development, but even that is like super wide and super deep. There's lots of things that we don't have time to go over that you're going to have to learn how to do. And so like, and then people ask us, hey, do you teach this pattern and that one and mediator and like, repository pattern and all that kind of stuff. And like some of it we do, some of it we don't. We have to pick and choose what we can do in 12 weeks. And, but it's enough to get you a job. I guarantee you that if you can build the bug tracker and talk about the bug tracker, you'll get a job. Everyone that does it and can talk about it, gets a job. And I'm not guaranteeing you a job. What I'm telling you is, if you can do that, you know how to code. And if you know how to code, you'll get a job. Now, if you copy everything verbatim down and you never acquire knowledge, I guarantee you can't talk about it. Yeah. See, that's the difference.
You're going to fail at the very first hurdle.
Yeah. Yeah. When you can talk about it, means now you understand what we taught you and we understand what you can do. But once you start learning how to talk about it, you're like, oh yeah, I do know what that line of code is. If you can like open up a controller in the MVC app and start walking through line by line and explain to someone else like what those lines do, you know what you're doing. You know, so like I think that just adjust your thinking, whether you come to Coder Foundry or Lambda or Hack Reactor or wherever you go. Don't rail against that school because your experience was bad. I mean, some people think they're doing a PSA, a public service announcement. Take what you learned, add to it, continue to increase your skills until you get a job, period. And, you know, Tech Rally will say, he's got an interesting story where he took the first job. It was kind of crappy. You know, he says it, you know, now he's at Amazon, you know, so like he built a career over time, which is exactly what I did. You know, I mean, like my first job wasn't the best one. I don't talk about it much, you know, I don't want to, but like, it's not the best one. And I eventually got to where I am today, where I built a career around in and around coding. It's just basically you're building a career. It's going to take time and effort, and you're always learning stuff, you know? So I was learning stuff this morning, believe it or not. I don't know everything there is to know about all topics, you know? It was like, I found out something new today.
There you go.
It's kind of cool.
Awesome.
It's actually messing with modals.
Oh, funny. Let's do stats question.
It's funny, yeah.
It's just knowing the front end seen as not not worthy enough. I'm loving diving deeper into CSS skills. I transitioned from tester. That's awesome. PS, I'd be so happy landing a 40, 50K job in the beginning.
That's great, Steph. And so here's what I want you to do. See this thing you wrote down? Put that on your yellow sticky note and stick it to your monitor. And you're like, if someone offers me 40K a year to code, I'm not going to turn it down. I'm going to make that promise to myself, you know, and then that's going to increase as you go through time. Your first job is for your experience. So let's talk about front end. Front end to us is JavaScript, and front end to us is CSS and HTML and JavaScript. Can you get a job with just CSS and HTML? 100% yes. Can they pay over 50K? We've seen people leave our program
yep.
and they're authoring HTML emails. They're making somewhere in the mid 60, 70K range. It's kind of good for that. Those jobs are possible. There's just not a bunch of them.
Yeah, they're not the common ones, are they? Yeah.
It's not the common. There's some of them that do that because they have, you know, but that's not the most. The most common job is building a web application full stack. But so if I'm saying, if I know front end, what a lot of people are talking about is front end. Can I lay out things, UX design, CSS, HTML, JavaScript? But you're also going to have to know something like Node or some kind of like what I would call a SPA framework, and that could be React or something like that. That's really what they're talking about front end. You know, and then to those groups, front end is that, and then the back end is something like a C# web API REST service on the back end that this thing calls. And that could be done through serverless functions. It could be done through lots of different things. So I think it is good enough, yeah, but don't stop there. But can you get a skill just knowing CSS and HTML? Yeah, you're going to be authoring emails, maybe website changes, maybe modifying a web page for somebody using a CMS. That's a job. It's good. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And can you make 40, 50K doing it? 100%. Yeah, you can do it.
Yep.
Good luck, Steph. Hope that helps.
Here's an interesting take. We've talked about this a little bit. Is NFT worth getting into?
All right. So here's you know, it's new. All right. So what do you mean by NFT? Should I make art in NFT? Sure, if you want to. Do I think there's a bubble in that market? Yes. Okay. Is everyone a grifter if they make NFTs? No. If you know what you're buying,
the money's there, man. Make it.
I mean, yeah, just make it if you can. You know, I mean, like for me, I think NFTs are going to be. I'm looking into this to build products that I want to do, but it's not in and around the art space. It's different things, and I want to get into what I'm trying to do because it's complicated. But like, I think it's worth doing it. Do I think blockchain is going to be important? Yeah, I think it's going to be important. I think it's going to be important
Anyway.
in and around things like authorization, identity. It's really about who owns a certain digital item or this kind of contract. And that's where it's kind of important. It's at its baby infancy. What you're seeing with like gorillas that Adidas had, it's like
which I was going to buy.
Which I
was going to buy until I saw how much they were.
Yeah, that's not the norm. Big brands can do that. There's some creators that have done a lot of money doing it, and I don't fault them for trying to do that. Do whatever you want there, but making NFT art isn't getting into NFT in my case. You're just uploading stuff. That's not really making coding smart contracts and building a system in and around that is something you need to do. Now, here's what I want to caution you on. Just because you can make a smart contract with Solidity or Ethereum or whatever it is, that's not everything you need to know. It's still, that's just going to be the underlying technology of what you have to do. You're still going to build that with websites right now, currently websites. So HTML, CSS, JavaScript, C#, all of those technologies to make an NFT product is what you're going to have to do to be able to do it. In addition to coding up the smart contracts with something like Solidity. So hope that helps. Is it worth it? Yeah. Depends on what you're doing though. Should you go make art? If you want to, go for it. I haven't made any yet. Maybe I'm slow in the uptake. Wish I'd done it. Someone wants to give me $23 million of my NFT, let me know and I'll do it. I'll make one.
See, we were talking about this the other day. I had an early in with the Adidas NFT thing because I spend way too much money on Adidas shoes. So I got the early buy thing, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh man, they want I think it was like $3,000 or something, or like $2,000 for like the NFT, and I was like, nah, it's just too expensive. But then people flipped them, and they were like, they're flipping them for like 20 something, and I was like, I should have just bought one of those things. I'm such an idiot.
I know.
I'm such an idiot. So given the option for some of these big ones, I'm like, yeah, we should probably get in on some of those. People say C++ was my first language. What opportunities are there for me? Can I learn in 1 year? Give me some guidance, please.
So can you learn how to code in 1 year? Sure. Yeah, 1 year should be time that you should be able to do that in a self-paced fashion. You should definitely do it. The question you need to ask yourself, are you committed to learning it? Are you
it's
really
different for everybody. If you say a year, you're not actually learning for a year solid, are you? If you're only spending 5 minutes a day is a year long enough, no.
Yeah. If you crack a book in January 1st and then you never look at it again until December 31st, and you say, I spent a year learning how to code, you really didn't. So I think you need to spend 700 to 1,000 hours in education. That's what I think you need to do. And I think if you do that, you can do enough. You can learn how to do it. In C++, what opportunities are there for you? Well, we think the best job and the most plentiful jobs out there right now are full stack web development. But can you get jobs in C++ programming? Yeah, there's embedded devices, there's gaming, there's a lot of things that C++ is used for.
Gaming specifically, right? It's a big industry.
Yeah. And if you're building websites, that's different stacks, not C++ as much. You're looking at C#, JavaScript, HTML, CSS. If you're building mobile apps, that's 3 stacks in and around there. That's React Native, Xamarin, soon to be .NET MAUI, Flutter. Those have different stacks, different languages in and around them. So look at what you want to build and then learn the stack that's most used in that area. And you can probably do that in a year. Hope that helps.
Yep. Let's do, where are we? Darren Super Chat, $5 didn't have a question. If you have a question,
Darren?
If you have a question, Darren, just type it in.
Find us tacos, man. Appreciate it.
Otherwise,
he likes your NFT taco cat, man. That's what we need to NFT that taco cat right there.
Oh, here we go. I got a question.
Yeah.
So Darren says, should I build my portfolio project with a framework, or is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript good enough for now?
So what we do is we build ours. We teach vanilla JavaScript currently right now, and then we build projects with the ASP.NET framework when we go full stack. So we're doing both. So you absolutely 100% need to know HTML, CSS, and I think vanilla JavaScript, how JavaScript works. So if you went to our self-paced course and you went through the first half of it, that's all we talk about. We talk about Bootstrap, we talk about HTML a little bit, and we talk about building things in JavaScript. That's what you need to do. Then move on to a full stack thing, and that could be ASP.NET. That's what we teach. That could be Node.js, like with React. That could be, MVC, Spring MVC with Java. there's a lot of frameworks in there. We think ASP.NET's the one to roll with, but you could pick any of those to Django, Laravel. There's a lot of them out there to build a full stack web application with, and that's what you need to know. So hopefully that helps. If you look through what's in our self-paced course, you'll see the level of effort we require, that we think is required to do this, which is you got 6 to 7 front-end JavaScript projects, 3 major MVC projects. We think that gives you a really good chance to do that, and you should be able to do that within a year.
So I also think that like you're asking, is it good enough for now? So you're implying that you have a portfolio site with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, or maybe that's what you're building in right now, and you're thinking, man, do I need to use a front-end framework to build this thing with? Yeah, the answer is no. It's a nice to have, I guess.
You should know a framework, though. I think you're going to have to know a framework to get it. Most people are building stuff with a framework of some sort. Very few jobs that see there, hey, we're rolling our own framework with just vanilla JS. They're not doing that. What they're saying, they're using React, or they're using ASP, or they're using something. So you do need to pick up a framework.
Yep. But as far as building your portfolio, I guess your project, you are going to have proof of kind of concept to show that you can actually.
Just put it this way, Darren, don't do what's easy, do what's necessary. So go pick a framework and build a project in that, and then interview for companies that are using that framework on their daily basis. And you align your skills with the job, and then it's a lot easier to get a job. Don't try to do the less you can do.
We're going to talk about this one last thing because we love talking about this thing, future of software dev.
What's the future? It's going to exponentially increase.
Yep. Are you sure that the Skynet's not taking over and the AI is going to start writing its own programs? And
I don't think so.
What was it? GitHub Copilot is going to start writing all the programs for us? No, that's not a thing.
It's not happening. That's not going to happen. Not in the foreseeable future, anyway. Stretch or film, I watched a YouTube video of the thing. They're saying that GPT-3 is going to take over, like they're writing the books. I'm like, dude, you've never read a GPT.
Have you read some of that stuff? Maybe comedy books, because it's hysterically funny.
Man. Tom Clancy is not like shaking in his boots right now. Like, ooh, you're going to write a spy thriller with GPT-3. Good luck. See you on the New York best time seller list. I'll be #1 and you won't be there. So I don't think the future of software is creative people using software to build things. And so the one thing that automation and no code and low code can't predict is how people want to consume information. So the future is obviously going to be in some kind of AR, VR experiences are going to be big. I think driverless cars will give us a new screen to write to, because you don't have to drive the car anymore. We can just put lots of information on that screen, an AR experience. So you're going to have to learn how to build those types of things. There are also underpinnings of technology, could be Web3, where blockchain underpins a lot of authorization, authentication. So you're going to start learning about those kind of things. So there's a lot of things that are coming down the pipe that could change what we're doing. I do think WebAssembly is another one that's changing the way websites are built and consumed, and that you're going to see that adoption next year. You're going to see that change pretty quickly, where the needle's going to move, and WebAssembly is going to be one of the better ways to build these high performance web applications. I know a lot of people don't agree with me with that. They'll think JavaScript will be here forever. I don't think you need to base your career on that. However, what you can do is, hey, learn JavaScript right now, stay with it for 5 years, and when it changes, just roll with the times. But if you want to be on the forward thinking thing, just think about where it's going to go. BK bought me some tacos. Thanks,
BK, man. With $35 super chat. BK,
that's a lot of tacos. We live in North Carolina, BK. We can buy a lot of tacos for $35.
That's like you funding us for the next year.
So they're like $7 for 6 down at Abel's, down the street from here, which is amazing tacos, by the way.
Yep. That's awesome. BK, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, BK. Merry Christmas.
I saw BK took an extra step with his branding. Did you see his his tweet, by the way?
Yeah,
BK took his branding and tatted himself with it. I love it. That's dedication to yourself right there.
Yeah. Now, I want to say this, though. If you want to reach out to BK and you're worried about breaking into the industry, I would say go learn from what BK did. Yeah. And full disclosure, he came through our boot camp. But he'll tell you, and I know that he'll tell you, he worked his tail off while he was in here in the boot camp, attended every day, put in his work, was about his business, and bam, got a job. And if he wants to share more information about his search and that kind of stuff, all the challenges he had some challenges. Like everybody in life has challenges. No one. We all have stuff, you know. And so like he overcame all of that and is working as a dev.
Yep.
So that I think, hats off to him. He's doing good.
Awesome.
So
definitely.
But yeah, follow him on Twitter. If you ever want to reach out to him directly, he can kind of tell you kind of what it was like for him. And this isn't a Code4Foundry commercial. I just want to encourage people that just know that it takes a lot of effort.
He didn't volunteer to do this either, by the way.
No, he didn't. But
he's doing. So there you go.
If you don't listen to me, listen to someone else who's been there, done that, and said, "Yeah, it worked for me, and this is what I did. I worked really, 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 really hard at what I'm doing."
Yeah.
So
I wish we could get. You know what I wish we could get to. I wish we could get people who weren't successful and who, who don't like us. I wish people could talk to those people too, because it's like I really do, because everybody's stories is different. Like we say, not everybody can do this, and they probably had their reasons why. And it's like you can understand like why sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's just we get to see it from our point of view, but like we're also selling a product, so people are gonna be like, well, of course you're gonna say that. So it's hard for us to say it. It's easier for other people to say it.
Right. And I think the common denominator is people that win have hard work. And people that win are committed to their craft, and they don't let obstacles keep them from doing it. So if there's an obstacle that you have, and that could be your bootcamp's terrible, they see that as an obstacle and then they quit. And it's like, come on, man, like don't quit, you know? Hey, thanks, Adam. Hey, thanks for the chat. Merry Christmas from the Research Triangle out in Raleigh. All right, appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. Cool.
Awesome. I like that.
Adam.
What do I like about Raleigh? What do I like about Raleigh? There was something that I really liked about there when I went last time. Oh, their food hall. Their food hall in Raleigh.
Really food hall's cool. food hall is cool. So
food hall in Raleigh, it's really good. It's really good. Yeah, I like it out there. We've been out there just to hang out for the weekend. Yeah, thank you, Ed. Appreciate it. Okay, we're gonna head out for Christmas.
Head out for Christmas. I wish all you guys a happy and Merry Christmas, and I will be back next week as we break into the new year. And just watch Learn.Code4Foundry. We're gonna have some stuff out there. I'm working on something else, maybe a late Christmas gift for some people, some free content that we're working on. Hopefully get that done today. I'm going to show it to you after we get off, Kevin. It's working. Okay. It's looking good.
Okay, awesome.
So, and maybe something that we can give to you guys probably next week. It won't be this week. Just hoping to get it out by Christmas. But I will go home today and spend time with the family starting today sometime very soon.
Awesome. I like it.
So, and then finally, watch The Matrix on HBO. Get back to me on my modal hot take.
Yeah, that's kind of my homework over the holiday is to watch it and come back with my take on it Tuesday.
The take on the modals, you know. So
yeah. Cool.
So it should be kind of good.
We'll catch you guys later. Have a good holiday, everybody.
Keep coding. See you later.